Hey, it's Mr. Jenkins. I'm back for episode 2 of the Ask an Adult podcast, the weekly podcast where you, the viewer, get to ask in the comments below what I, an adult, think about your questions. That's not the right. You get to ask me, an adult, for advice about questions. Now, I'm not claiming to be an expert. In fact, I'm far from it. I'm just an older person, so I'll give you some answers. This started in my classroom years and years ago when I would sub, and then at the end of class sometimes students would look forward to it. Anyway, so the question for today is from Danielle, and shout out Danielle. And Danielle's question is, how did I figure out what I wanted to do in my career, and what can you do to figure that out as well? So it's a really simple answer. Take what you've learned and take what you're interested in and figure out a way to make money from it. So for me, this is probably my third or fourth career option. My original career option was to be a professional drummer. My original career option was to be a professional drummer. My second career option was to go to law school. My third career option was to run a small business, and my fourth career option, or be a college professor, and my fourth career option was high school English teacher. So, about to hit some hot traffic. Here we go. So what happened is I took drumming really seriously when I was in high school. I would have loved to have been in a touring band and go on Warped Tour or tour the country in a van for years. And set up my drum set and play the drums and tear them down and go to the next city and do that and try to sell albums. And what I realized really quickly is that there's essentially no more music industry. In 2005, the beginning of 2005, I got hired at a music magazine. It was distributed by the LA Weekly. Had 150,000 people that read it every month. And a huge distribution. It was a free magazine. It was called Mean Street. We gave away tickets to Coachella. I gave away tickets to Coachella over the phone. It was a blast. We published all sorts of stuff. We partnered with Travis Barker, who was the drummer in Blink-182. We did all sorts of really amazing things, and there was zero money in it. The magazine was losing money. I got paid $8 an hour, and I had to water plants and clean toilets. I interned at record labels for free. There's just no money in the music industry. None. You have to do it as a hobby. And to really be a great drummer that makes a living, or a great musician that makes a living, you have to teach lessons, you have to tour really hard, and you have to be very, very lucky. And so at the age of 20, I started taking lessons from a really professional guy, and I was like, hey, I want to be a studio drummer, somebody who, is just a studio guy. He's like, yeah, have fun with that. But he was a teacher at a college and one of the just great drummers, but he didn't make any money off of playing drums. He made money off of being a teacher. So that, number one, that's how it kind of went away. And two, and part of number one is I'm very good at playing the drums, but I am not one of the best in the world. And to make a living off of playing the drums, you have to be one of the best in the world. So I just didn't make it. I didn't go the distance. Number two, I thought about going to law school. I applied to law school. I took the LSAT, which is the SAT for law. And I just didn't do that great on it. I realized that everybody who was going into the LSAT had all their pens and pencils and their ID in a plastic bag, and I didn't. And I said, how'd you guys hear about this plastic bag thing? They said, when you take the class before the LSAT, that's what you have to do, is to get the plastic bag. And everybody else had the plastic bag who was taking the test, which means everybody else took the class that you pay for, and I did not do that. And so I got beat. It's based on how everybody else does on the test, and I did okay on it, but not well enough where I was like, okay, law school's for me. So what was really helpful is I did this thing called career guidance counseling. Career guidance counseling is where you meet with somebody, a career guidance specialist, where you meet with somebody who is paid professionally by a college or university to figure out what you want to do with your life. You take a series of aptitude tests, and they give you a series of careers. And so I took this thing called the Myers-Briggs test. I found out I was an extrovert, that I'm intuitive, that I'm thoughtful, that I'm more of a feeler than I am a thinker, and that I'm perceptive. So this was really helpful for me, because after all this, I was told exactly what careers would benefit me as a human being. And so those careers in a list of 5, the first one, I've told this to some classes before, the first one was a cosmetologist, a hairdresser, a barber. That was number 1. Number 2 was artist musician. We got that covered already. Number 3 was a forester, which means somebody who works in the forest to plan out how forests should be developed. Number 4 was entrepreneurial sales, meaning being your own salesperson. And number 5 was English teacher. So at this very moment, and number 50 was lawyer, and at the very bottom of the list was CEO, business organizer, CEO, entrepreneur, at the very, very bottom. And so I realized really quickly, I didn't want to run a business, I didn't want to take over the family business, and I didn't want to go to law school. And I'd already been accepted into graduate school for English, so I was like, boom, that's the thing that I'm going to do. And part of my graduate program, a year after I started graduate school, I did a little bit of research, and I got paid a little bit for doing research. Then I got this thing called a teaching fellowship, which means that you get paid to teach college classes and also get tuition remission, meaning I got money back for college. So I essentially went to college for free, and I got paid on top of it for teaching college classes. So I did that job that paid me while I was a student. I kept that job for almost 9 years because it was I got it down to a science where I could just show up 3 or 4 hours a week, and I got paid a part-time salary like I was working 20 hours a week. It was incredible because of the experience that I had. So that job essentially carried me through all of my 20s, from the age of 22 essentially to the age of 31 until my daughter was born. I realized very quickly that I didn't want to do anything else. I did a sales job during that time. I took advice of number 4. I did some sales. So in 2012, I went back and got a teaching credential. And because my wife was a full-time teacher at a university, I got the teaching credential for free. So I was very lucky. Right after we got married in the fall of 2012, I went back and got a teaching credential. By the spring of 2014, I was a student teacher during the day, and I was teaching at the university at night, and I'd saved up some money to live off of. And by the fall of 2014, my daughter was born. I was a teacher, and I was working as a teacher full-time and LMU part-time in the evenings. So it took me a long time. It took me almost 10 years. From when I graduated from high school to when I became a teacher was 11 years, which is a long time. Yeah, it took me 11 years from when I graduated from high school to when I actually became a high school teacher. So it's not easy for anyone, and it's like, oh, Mr. Jenkins figured it out. It took me a long time. I had to do some really crappy jobs. I worked retail, I worked cleaning toilets, I swept for free for 6 months at a record label that no longer exists. I mean, I did some crazy stuff for no money or for very little money to try to get by. I was even homeless for a summer, sleeping out of my car. I mean, I did that on purpose. But I had, I wanted to figure out what it was like to live on my own, and I learned it the hard way. I lived in a place by the beach that had no heat, and I used a toaster oven as a heater in the summer or in the winter. Yeah, things have been challenging. So it's not all happy and rosy all the time. Part 2, how do you as a human being figure out what you want to do with your career? So 3 parts to this answer. Part A, think about the things that you're already passionate about. Part B, think about the people that you know who do jobs that they really like. And part C, talk to people who are in a field that you're interested in and ask them how they make money doing the thing that they love. So, if you want to be an accountant, let's say, or you have interest in accounting, you like counting money, you like counting other people's money, you like knowing the ins and outs of certain rules, you're really detail-oriented, you like organization, look into accounting. But before you take a single accounting class, call up a local accounting firm and say, hey, I'm a high school or college student. I really want to know what accountants do. I want to know what your day in and day out is like. I want to know if you would recommend this profession if you were to do this profession all over again. So you go to their office, hopefully, or go as a pair, say, hey, it's part of a class. It's not true. But go, a pair, 2 or 3 of you guys, and say we're doing a report. And you want to know what it's like for an hour or 2 to be in an accounting office. So 3 of you go together. And you all show up with your looking like students, and you bring your backpacks, and you bring your pens and pencils, and you write down notes about what it looks like, about what the day-to-day is like you're interviewing the person. But those notes are just for you. You got to take initiative as to what you want, all right? So let's continue down this accounting road. Then you say accounting looks like a really good job. I really want to be an accountant. It would be a great job. You start taking accounting classes online. You see if you have the skills to do it. You start taking accounting classes at a community college. You see if you have the skills to do it. You start taking accounting class at your four-year university. You see if you have the skills to do it. All right? During the summer, you intern at an accounting firm that you made lead-ins at. Great. You find a family friend who's an accountant, and you ask them specific questions about it. And really ask the hardcore questions. Here are some of the hardcore questions. Number one, does this profession make enough money for a person like me to be able to survive on? Does this profession make enough money for someone like me to survive on? Can I have the life that I want in this profession? That's one. Two, do people who are in this profession stay at the profession for a long period of time? Meaning, can I make this my career? And if not, what else do you want to do to supplement it? For example, I really enjoyed being a part-time college professor. It was my calling. It was the thing I was meant to do. But I couldn't make a living off of it. I made, even as a single person, I couldn't make a living off of it. So I had to supplement it by doing sales during the day or by working retail or, all sorts of things. I did all sorts of jobs to make the two ends meet, okay? The other thing that you should ask somebody who is a professional that is going to give you information about what it means to be in this job is you want to ask them if they were to do it all over again, would they do it? If they were to do it all over again, would they do it? If they said, hell no, I wish I were writing books, or hell no, I wish I was a scuba diving instructor, or, I wish I was a pilot, or I wish, blah, blah, blah. I wish I were a pilot, whatever. I wish that I had the ability to do something else. Maybe that's not the profession for you. So lawyers have a massive burnout rate. About half the people who start as lawyers finish their career as lawyers. And so I'm like, I don't want to do that. That sounds miserable. That's not fun. I want to go where the fun is. And maybe I'll make some money along the way. And I figure that out for myself. And I hope that you guys have the ability to figure that out for yourselves too. Because we only get one life on this earth. We only get one chance, one opportunity. You guys only get one shot at this, right? So make it your best shot. Do something that you really love. And if you really love making money, make money. But what I would recommend in my Ask an Adult wisdom is that when you help other people is when you fill up the bank of what it means to help yourself emotionally. So I would say find a job where you can every day make the world a little bit better through relationships. Or know that you're making the world a little bit better for future generations. Because if you're in a job where you feel like it's not value added to society, or it's not value added to the environment, or it's not value added to family members, it's not making more than your life better, that's gonna suck your soul dry. So there's my one bonus piece of information is don't just pick a job because it's good money. Pick a job because it's good money and that money is going somewhere that helps you, that helps your family, that helps future generations, or that the job that you're doing produces something that benefits certain individuals or society as a whole. This podcast, even, what you're hearing from me, some of you in here are going to take this to heart and it's going to help make your life a little bit better. And when you do that, it makes the world a better place. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing it for views. I'm doing it because maybe there are one or two or three of you who acknowledge that the world can be better with choice. And each of you every day have the choice when you get out of bed to make the world a better place. And I choose every day to make it better, and you should too. All right, that's the end of episode 2. I'll see you guys next week for episode 3, Ask an Adult Podcast. You can also email me at askanadultpod@gmail.com. Make good choices.